for the sake of this episode, I took the test. If you guys remember, I said that many years ago when I first took this test, I was ENFP. Now that I do it again, I am little I, or LI for short. Alright, in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the MBTI test, as I was talking about introverts and extroverts like a couple episodes ago. This was supposed to be episode 10, but I ended up talking about eating disorders first. Anyway, getting right to it, MBTI stands for Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, and it is a self-reported personality test that groups people into 16 different types based on 4 areas. So basically, you take the personality test, it asks you some questions, and at the end, you get a 4-letter result, each letter indicating your personality in a different area. Before we go any further, I think it would be better if we talk a little bit about the history of the MBTI test. So in the beginning, I said that MBTI stands for Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. It was created by Americans Catherine Cook Briggs and her daughter Isabel Briggs Myers. They were both inspired by Carl Jung's work, as we kind of discussed on the Introvert-Extrovert episode. Although they were fascinated by Jung's book, Psychological Types, they thought it was too complicated for people to understand. Because back then, people might not be able to read or have access to those books and information. And the book was published in 1921, but the English translation was available in, I believe, 1923. They soon tried to organize Jung's work so it is more accessible and understandable to a larger population. In 1939, Briggs and Myers began the creation of their indicator. Now, if we go back to world history, 1939 was when World War II began. According to the Myers-Briggs Company, Myers believed that if people understood each other better, there would be less conflict. To add on top of that, many women started to enter different new jobs during World War II, so Myers wanted to match them with roles that would be most effective and comfortable for them. The ultimate goal of this test was to help people to be more aware of themselves and provide them new insights, which would hopefully lead to better relationships between people by appreciating people with different personalities. Later on, in 1962, the first official MBTI instrument was published. Alright, I think that's enough of the history. Now, what does each letter mean in the MBTI personality types? So I said that the result gives you 4 letters, each letter indicating your type in a different area. Now these areas actually go back to Jung's work. He supposed that people experience the world with 4 psychological functions: sensation, intuition, feeling, and thinking. And one of the 4 is dominant in a person most of the time. The MBTI theory expanded on this, and the 4 categories are introversion, extroversion, sensing or intuition, thinking or feeling, and judging or perceiving. According to the MBTI test, each person will have one preferred part of the pair, which would have 16 different types. That's why this is also called the 16 personality test. At the end, the test results would be 4 different letters, with the first one being either E or I, meaning extroversion or introversion. And we talked about this in the episodes before, so we're not going to go through a whole lot about it. The second letter would be S or N, representing sensing or intuition. Now you might think, why is it N for intuition instead of I? But it's because I was already used to represent introversion, so that's a fun fact. Anyway, sensing means they are hands-on and pays more attention to the facts and the present with a more realistic approach to situations. They might say things like, just give me the facts. Basically, they use their senses to process the information. For intuition, it means that you focus more on the abstract parts, the future possibilities, and I guess kind of like more creative and thinking more than just the facts and the realities. They might say things like, what if, and they rely more on gut feelings. Then, the third letter would be F or T, meaning feeling type or thinking type. I think this one is pretty easy to understand. Feeling types make decisions based on personal value, relationships, and empathy, more feelings and emotion. Thinking types make decisions based on logic, facts, and rules. So they might think more about the cause and effects and the truth. A lot of Taiwanese YouTubers do shorts about little questions, I guess, and ask people. By the response, you can tell if they are type F or type T. Now, a lot of them have done the MBTI test already and know their 4-letter result. That's why when the questions and the answers come in, they will say if the answer to the question is the same as their result. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm going to ask the questions and then you guys can do a little test and see which type you are. Now, this first question may be a little heavy for some listeners, but please know that I'm not trying to offend anyone. If you feel uncomfortable talking about this topic, you can fast forward about 30 seconds. So the first one is, what is the opposite of suicide? If you said things along the lines of homicide, murder, or killing, you are likely type T. If you said things like survive or alive, you are likely type F. So from those two answers, you can kind of see what F and T means. F focuses more on emotions and feelings, while T is like the facts kind of. There's also a second question, or I should say statement. After I say the statement, pay attention to what comes into your mind first. I had a bad day today, so I went to buy some bread. If your first reaction was, what bread, or why did you buy bread, or anything along those lines, you are most likely type T. If your first reaction was, why did you have a bad day, or what happened, you are most likely type F. So those are just like little games you can play basically. On to the next letter, P or J. P stands for perceiving and J stands for judging. This basically differentiates between how you like to deal with things. Are you more organized or more flexible? Type J people tend to prefer planning and organization, while Type P people tend to prefer flexibility, open-ended, or just adapting. In other words, they like to make decisions along the way. I think a good example is like when you're going on a trip. Do you like to pack your stuff 1 or 2 weeks in advance, or you think you can just get it done maybe 3 days before you take off? Do you like to make precise plans as to what time you go where, what is the address of the restaurant you're going to eat at, which train you will need to take? Or do you like to just look online for spots to visit, decide what to eat when you arrive, and just look for one nearby? Now, it doesn't mean Type P people are disorganized, but they don't like everything to be permanent, like they like to keep their options open. So after talking so much about the letters and types you can be, maybe you would like to do the test and see what your results are. I tried to find the actual MBTI test, like the official one, because every time I search MBTI test on Google, it gives me other websites, like MBTI doesn't show up. So I tried to figure out where I could take the official MBTI test. So I found this website that said I can do it at mbtionline.com. I was like, yay, I found it. And then when I clicked on it and found a link to the test, it said that I needed to pay $60, so I didn't do it. I was shocked because I took the MBTI test many years ago, but I did not pay at all. I don't know if it's because the one I took previously was not official or what. But to what I understand, the official one is expensive because it provides you more than just your results, but like a report. I'm not sure about that because I didn't take the official one. On Google, though, you can find many other alternatives that are free, but some are unofficial. Anyway, I found a different test, which is titled 16 Personalities. For the sake of this episode, I took the test. If you guys remember, I said that many years ago when I first took this test, I was ENFP. Now that I do it again, I am an INFJ. Now, the results basically say that I am idealistic, insightful, and deeply empathetic. I am driven to make a meaningful impact and form profound connections, but I can become overwhelmed and need solitude to recharge. It also says that I combine creativity with analytical thinking and high personal standards, though self-doubt and sensitivity to criticism may hold me back. As I record more episodes and you guys get to know me a little bit better, you guys can see if you agree with this result. I kind of agree with this result. I do think I am more introverted and follow my emotions. After all, though, many scientists and psychologists don't really recognize this MBTI test as a reliable report or scientifically accurate. Many of them criticize this test for a couple of reasons. Some say a lot of people receive a different type when they retest after a few weeks. Some say that the test forces people to be grouped based on either or categories, even though most traits act like a curve or, to say, a spectrum. And some say that it doesn't effectively measure your traits because modern psychology defined these through the Big Five Ocean model. Some of you may say, well then if it's not accurate, why should I do it? I think that comes from two reasons. The first one is it is a simple and easy to understand self-report that provides a label or like an icebreaker for people to understand each other's preferences. I don't think this acts as an icebreaker in the US as much, but when I was in Asia or watching Asian shows, many people do ask your MBTI as a conversation starter. They would say things like, oh, I am an INFP, or my MBTI is ESTJ. This also leads to its criticisms because it kind of oversimplifies personality traits, and some say it can lead to stereotypes. But if you're using it as a self-reflecting report, it could be a good tool. The second reason I think people still do it despite its scientific inaccuracy is that this test is way easier than other complex psychological models. Because it is only 4 letters and the questions are like a fun quiz to some people, it is easy to remember and easy to use during everyday conversations or interviews. MBTI is very popular in East Asian countries like South Korea, China, Japan, Taiwan, especially among Gen Z. While this test was developed in the US, it is not as widely spread like it is in South Korea, but it is a common tool for companies too. Alright, I think that's enough for today's episode. If you guys have any questions for me, psychology related or not, or anything you want to share with me, click for my Google form or leave a comment down below. If you also did the MBTI or the 16 personality test, share your results down below too. Do you think it fits you, or do you think it does not fit you? Thank you to everyone who finished this episode, and I hope to see you guys next time.